Hello everyone, it's Jaden here for Student Pages. Hope you're all doing well today. Today we have another artist spotlight interview. We are here with Ellis J Barraclough. How you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
Excellent. So yeah, I suppose to start us off, how did you break into this world? What was your first exposure to music?
First exposure to music was from being a really wee lad, I suppose, and like sort of being at boxing days and parties with my family and stuff like that, where everyone in my family plays some music, if you know what I mean. So I got exposed to that. But I suppose my first sort of thing when it comes into the music industry was when I met my manager Vince, and then we started doing like proper gigs, started recording my material.
And was it how did you feel settling into that world? Was it a bit of a shock for you, or did you pretty much know what you were doing from the
Well, I
get
knew
go?
it was always what I wanted to do, but like you never expect what it's actually going to be like. It's not even just for music, for everyone who actually like who they know they want to do something, but until they actually do it, they don't have a clue what it means to actually do it.
But yeah, so for your song Blasphemy then, how did you come up with that song and how did it develop you as an artist, would you say?
I came up with it when I was living in Brough. I'd just come out of a relationship, so I just started playing the chords, and it was just like sort of power chords, and just I don't know. When it comes to writing, you see, I get asked this question quite a lot. I don't know where the songs come from. They just sort of I start rhyming words together, and whatever I'm saying might be what I'm feeling. I don't really know. I just sort of do it. But yeah, that was sort of the first song that I thought, oh, do you know what? Actually, this might be worth recording properly, because I recorded it normally just on my own on a little app called BandLab on my phone. I think it was that song that my manager picked up on and thought, oh, we'll record this guy.
Yeah, and I mean, for other music you've worked on, then would you say that that song was a huge part in creating the overall creative process that you typically go by?
No, not really. I've always sort of stayed to the same code when I'm writing songs. It's just I'll play a riff or a song and then start mumbling to it, and it'll sound crap for ages until I end up like getting some words down for it. I have no organization when it comes to like writing.
I kind of get what you mean there. It's a case of once you got your melody, then you can the
Yeah,
word shape because of how the song already
yeah.
sounds. So no, it's an interesting way of doing things. I've never heard that before, but I can see why it'd work.
What ends up happening sometimes is I'll fiddle around with one song so many times that other songs end up sprouting out of them little ideas. So I'll be trying to write one song, but I'm writing like three other songs whilst I'm doing it.
No, it's awesome. No, it's great. I mean, if you've got that multiplication coming out of the music, it must really help down the line, I guess, when you are, like you say, developing new stuff. So, for your music as a whole, then, how would you describe it? What genre would you say it fits into, or do you think it really stands out and is its own thing?
It's a sort of mixture of genres, but I think it's hard for a solo musician to be put into a genre, because when you're in a band, it's not really just about the music. It's the way that you all look, the style that you put across. But for just a solo musician, so I just like writing music. I don't really particularly put it into any sort of bracket. But if I was, then sometimes I say it's like Ed Sheeran, but it's not really, because it's not that type of music. Do you know what I mean?
Ed Sheeran is. I've never heard that one before, you know.
But when it comes to the recorded ones, I think every song has its own bracket that it falls into.
Yeah, and again, as you explained about how you make your music as well, I can kind of see how that would happen in that you've maybe made one song that has a certain rhythm, has a certain theme.
Yeah,
And then if you've come up with an idea from that, it might be like, "Oh, this is completely different." I guess when you have that creative process, I can see why everything would be a bit different.
yeah. I mean, I've got songs that are more sort of rock and roll, maybe not rock and roll sounding, but rock sounding. And then I've also got some songs that are quite slower and sadder, which you couldn't call rock. Do you know what I mean? So, and then I've got some psychedelic sounding stuff and all that jazz. So, but not jazz and rap.
Fair enough. So go on then. You only just really, I think in the last year, if I'm correct, have broken into this world. So what is the reaction from the people around you been in your personal life? Has it all been very supportive, or have you had any naysayers who were like, "What are you doing?"
No, it's complete support. There hasn't been one single person that has questioned what I'm doing. Except there was one, and it was like one of the first gigs I did, and he came up to me and said, "I hate it when all the youngsters singing sad songs and stuff like that. Get a grip." And I was like, "Oh, well, cheers, pal. I hope you liked it."
Wow, what
No,
a ray of sunshine.
I know, yeah. What a happy chappy. But no, other than that, I've had full support from everyone. Not a bad word.
Figured out, I suppose, through the course of doing these interviews that, you know, when you know other musicians and you know people that are trying to break into these creative industries, it is a struggle. And
Yeah.
it is very much a band together type thing where it's sometimes nice to know that other people are in the same boat as
Oh,
you are.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the only thing is that I don't know many other sort of people my age in the music industry, you know, that I can sort of relate to or just sort of be friends with. So everyone who I very close circle associate with is very supportive of what I do.
Sounds like you're carrying on a legacy then, if it's
I,
in the family.
that's the way that I would like to put it in my head. If I ever think, what am I doing this for? The legacy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You gotta continue continue what's been put before you. I don't know if you've faced any of this yet, but we do like to touch on online presence. So I think the first question I've got regarding that is when you've been trying to promote your music, have you faced any of these troll comments or you know, awful stuff online?
Do you know, it's a good question, and I wouldn't say I've been trolled or like there's no one who's intentionally put anything nasty except for people. I had one comment where I just shaved my beard, and normally I can grow out a beard enough to sort of make it visible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like sort of wispy, but I just shaved it for some reason. And somebody put in the comments, and it was a genuine question. They weren't trolling. They put, I don't know whether this is a boy or a girl, and I was just like,
That's rough.
"Nah."
That's rough.
Well, it makes it even worse that it wasn't trying to annoy me; it was being serious. I'm like, right.
I mean, how do you face stuff like that? Are you all right with it, or did it sting a bit?
I mean, I think in the day and age that you're in now, I think you'd be a monster for getting offended of being accused to look like the other side. But it did annoy me a little bit because it's like, well, I'm not a woman.
Yeah, you know, you're not trying to pull that off, so it's like, well,
I mean, that was a while ago, and I shaved my beard again recently. And I think when you're sort of on stage and you're sort of like in a bit of a spotlight, people have more of an opinion on your appearance than you would do if you weren't in that spotlight. I was going for the John Lennon look as well, but I was more compared
I
towards.
see it, you know, I see it a bit.
I've got some circular glasses
Love it.
that I wanted to wear, but when I put my hair over, like not behind my ears, and put the glasses on, I look more like Ozzy Osbourne.
I also again see the vision, yeah. That's terrifying. You're like a chameleon. You're just sort of
I know.
looking like anyone else but yourself. So, I mean, backtracking a little bit then, back to Blasphemy. I remember you mentioned to me that you were going through a breakup at the time of making that song. Would you say that for your music, you usually use real life experiences to shape it, or is it not like that for you?
Well, first album, which by the way, I'm recording 3 albums, and once we've got all of them done, then we're going to decide which songs go in which album. So it's not going to be like an era album, if you know what I mean. It's going to be all mix and match. But the first set of 12 songs that I've recorded, you can definitely tell that it was all sort of emotionally charged, if you know what I mean. So I
Yeah.
think early days of writing, I used a lot of like, sort of being in love and then falling out of love as a basis to write songs with. But then as I sort of got over that and got over myself a little bit, I started writing about other things that you just wouldn't sort of, that aren't so emotionally charged, if you know what I mean. Like kind of like how John Lennon sort of like in Eye on the Walrus sort of gibberish lyrics, if you know what I mean, but still trying to make sense, trying to make a point.
So actually, what you end up with is just whatever makes its way out. It's not necessarily charged by anything.
Unless something happens and I'm in a particular sort of mood where I want to write it to sort of clear my head about it. Subliminal things as well, like writing a song about time and about dragonflies, you know, stuff like that. But it's like find a really random thing where you wouldn't think that you could write a whole song about, and you'd be surprised how much you can actually say about that one particular thing.
Very good point, actually. I hadn't really considered that. Again, suppose treading back to what I was saying about social media earlier, I'm curious as to what your presence is on social media and how important you deem it for people going into music industries and creative industries. Because I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of pressure to have a presence, and I'm curious as to your experience.
The thing is, I've never been. I spend a lot of time on social media, more time than I want to. It's where you get that brain rot. But I am really bad at sort of being on social media, if you know what I mean. I don't have a natural sort of knack for wanting to promote myself all the time and share it. But I know how important it is to do, because I think with the way that the music industry is now, you know, you need to already half the people that sort of made their money and fame from where they are is because of social media and nothing else. Most people get recognized through social media more than the music. Something that I've never been the best at, but I'm always, constantly trying to sort of be better at. I do use it a lot, and there's a lot of promotional stuff on there. But yeah, it's just getting into the sort of, it's finding a knack for it. That's the most important,
Yeah.
where it comes as naturally as you would write your songs.
It's rare I find a social media activist, I suppose. It's like this is usually the case where people say, I can acknowledge that it's a great tool, but I hate it. It's
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm doing. It's like,
yeah.
well, aren't we all? We're all trying to find our way through that weird world.
I don't know. I think it's because of how the music industry used to be. I think there's a sort of thing where it's like, I just wish it was like that, where you didn't have to really sort of put your own self in the spotlight by yourself all the time, just
Mm,
friendly. Do you know what I mean? But then I suppose when you think about it, that's just what music is. It's just
true.
sort of promote yourself doing it.
With us being student pages, then we obviously love to give students advice for whatever aspects of a career they want to go into. So, for people that want to get into music, students specifically, what advice would you give them for how to get started?
Stick with your guns, I suppose, and don't be afraid to make any leaps that might have a risk with them. I spent a year in my sixth form doing subjects that I really didn't like to do, but I always knew that I wanted to do music. I just never put the pieces together that I could go get either an education and then leave with, something in music. So I just said, screw it, and went and did a music degree, and it was the best thing I ever done. Just believe in yourself and stick true to your own goals of what you want to do, and don't get thinking about what other people have to say about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That has been the general consensus, just to keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
Because I think a lot of people do dip. Like they say, 99% of gamblers quit just as they're about to win big.
Oh, I know, but I think that's just what the casinos tell them, so they keep putting money.
I'm joking. I'm being hyperbolic, obviously, but no, I
I'm,
suppose with music that does tend to be the case. It's like the minute you stop going, someone else will get your place, and then
yeah, and you know what? As well, it's like you could be doing something else entirely. Like, despite what I'm doing now, I'm putting all of my effort into my music, but that doesn't mean that if you were putting all of your effort in, you weren't any less of a musician yourself. You could be working a 9 to 5, but if you still have the passion for writing, not even writing, just playing and singing, then that's the best thing about music, is that it doesn't have to be for anyone else other than yourself.
yeah, no, no, absolutely, you're totally right there. So let's go with a huge question to end things off. Then this is a very open-ended one. What would you say has been your biggest challenge so far while making music and putting your name out there?
Getting over the fact. Okay, so I suppose it would be getting over the feeling that people might sort of read too much into me as a person through my lyrics. Because there's so many times
Mm,
where I've written something and then thought, oh, I don't really want to say that because I'm revealing too much about me. So you sort of had to get over the fact that people might not have to make that link towards the lyrics and me, and it shouldn't stop me from saying what I want to say just because I get anxious about what people might think about me.
mm. No, I imagine that must be terrifying, actually. Again, it's another thing I'd never really considered is that music generally is a very honest thing.
Yeah,
If you're not saying anything with your music, you're not really
yeah.
making music. I feel like the
Well,
best music does have a message or something, and it comes
as
from somewhere with
that's
everyone.
the best thing as well, is that important lyrics are when you really give a part of yourself and put it into that song. So the biggest worry for me was I didn't want to give anything of myself away, but then I realized that's stupid, because then you're not really saying anything, and people won't be able to relate to you if you're not saying anything.
Yeah, and it'd feel a bit empty, I guess.
Yeah.
Very interesting. No, excellent answer. No, totally with you there. So that is pretty much all we've got for you. Thank you for talking so much with us about everything that you do. It's been absolutely wonderful. Where can people follow you, and what are you working on at the minute?
On every social media platform, basically Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Ellis J Barraclough official. Even has a blue tick on it, which is mental.
Very nice. Very snazzy.
It's crazy. I still can't believe it. And at the minute, I'm working on finishing my third album, and we're sort of figuring out what single to put out next. But Blasphemy is the one you should listen to if you haven't already listened to it.
Well, thank you ever so much for speaking with us, Alice. It's been absolutely fantastic, and best of luck with everything you do in the future.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.